The sex offender registry doesn't work. Not because it's poorly enforced, not because it needs more funding, not because it needs more police officers, not because it needs better software. It's flawed because the premise that the registry is built on is flawed. And not only are there one or two flaws, we're going to talk about 5 different flaws that the registry has. Now, this is not me complaining about the registry. This is me analyzing how it operates, the mechanics of it. Not saying that there should be no accountability for registered people. I'm not saying that either. I'm saying when we take a look at why the registry was created and what it's actually doing today, it is structurally worthless in doing what it was created to do. The registry was created in the 90s. And the reason it was created was so that it could keep up with the worst sexual predators. And on that list were predators who had multiple cases, multiple sex cases, multiple molestation cases, multiple sex and violent cases, battery, kidnapping, and rape. The worst of the worst. That's why it was created. And today, it's far from what it was created to be, because now, as it is operated, it cannot do any of the things that it was created to do. Flaw number 1. The registry has no built-in reward system. Think about what that means, not emotionally, but structurally. Every system we have, every one of them, has a mechanism to recognize change behavior. Prison has parole. Probation has early termination. Drug court has graduation. Even the IRS has the bill has been paid off. You're free. But not the registry. The registry goes on and on and on. And that person who reports every quarter, that person that always has his money for the city and the county, that person who is always at work doing what he's supposed to do, not getting any new cases at all. He is so quiet that it's almost like he doesn't exist. He takes care of his family. He's active in his community as a positive person. And yet he's sitting on the same registry, the same website, the same notification, the same housing restrictions, the same job restrictions as the worst of the worst. He, the most docile, nicest person on the registry, is next to the meanest: assault, battery, rape, kidnap, because the registry does not differentiate. There is no reward system for those who do good versus those who are terrible. The guy with 1 offense is sitting next to a guy with 7 or 8 of them. And it's not fair for those guys who do well. The registry should have some kind of system that rewards behavior, compliance. And yet there is nothing there that says you're doing a good job and we appreciate you. Flaw number 2, no release point. When you went to prison, when you got sentenced, whether they said 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, you knew exactly when the sentence was over. You knew exactly when you were going to be released. And yet the registry has no end. In one of the major cities or states like Michigan, Michigan is 99 years on the registry. 99 years. And that is very, very aggressive. 99 years with no way of working yourself off that registry. This is a life sentence. Combine that with number one, where you have no recognition of change, and you sentence a person to the registry for 99 years. This 99 years on the registry cannot even be maintained. It is a drain on the state's resources to maintain for a life sentence all of these names, all of these people. No mechanism for checking in every 3 years to see if there's a change. That way we go from 99 years to 70 years. We'll check in again, go to 50 years, 40 years, 10 years. Some type of mechanism to whereas a man is not on the registry for the rest of his life. These peer groups, these studies have shown that the punishment never ends. And this is administered outside of any court with no appeals process and no release dates, just on the registry and thrown away. Flaw number 3, it protects against the wrong person. I did a video years ago called The Pedophile in the Bushes, and it talked about protecting against the wrong person. This is what the registry does. The studies have shown that the people who are attacking children, the most prominent cases, when you look at them and study them, and you study the numbers, 91 to 93% of sexual abuse and attack on children comes from people they know. You're looking at the registry. The people that are attacking the children are inside their house already. The people that are attacking the children are already at the daycare. The people who are hurting children are already at the church. They are already at the family gathering. They got keys to the house. They're the ones babysitting. They're the ones coaching. They're the ones who have access to your children. And as I said in that video that I made years ago, there are 2 things you need when it comes to being able to have your children be abused. They're going to be abused by somebody they trust and somebody that has authority over them. Somebody they trust and somebody that has authority over them. Someone that they're expected to obey. Someone that it's not going to be weird to see them with your child. And so the registry is missing this. Now, understand from this 91 to 93%, there is still a 7% that does come from the outside. And that's not good. We need to get that 7% covered. And that's when the registry works. But the registry is missing because it's focusing 100% on the registry when it should only be focused 7%, because the major crime, the 91 to 93% of attacks on children come from people that are not on the registry. You're building a fence around the front door and the attackers are coming in the back door. as I said in that video, there is no pedophile in the bushes. They're in your house already. They're in your school already. It's not going to be some strange guy. What's the old adage? The stranger in the trench coat. You want some candy? That stuff is mythology. That person is not asking your kid if they want candy. They're the ones teaching your dance class. They're the one over the little league. They're the ones saying you're going to have to stay after school. And this is why the registry is failing, because it's totally not paying attention to what's going on, even when the numbers are telling it exactly where to go. It's totally ignoring the numbers, and it wants to act as if it's doing something good by directing this list. This list is dead. This list is failure. Most of the people on this list are not even have their mind on anything concerning breaking the law again. Most of the people on that list are trying to find jobs, trying to find places to live, trying to get away from the general public, because the general public is crazy. Because they have imaginations that are overactive when it comes to registered people. But when it comes to the safety of their children, their imagination goes to sleep, and they leave it up to law enforcement with this list that is totally useless and totally worthless when it comes to new crimes being committed. They totally ignore the numbers. Number 4, the registry creates new crime. How does it do that? Because it has been studied and reported, and recidivism has been studied and reported. When a registered person's information is made public to anyone and everyone, and that person is trying to find a home and a job, and they cannot find a home and a job, it puts them in a position of survival. And when that person is in a position of survival, they become desperate and they look to commit other crimes. Now, let me say this. Just because a person is in a desperate situation concerning a place to live and a job does not mean that that person is going to go out and commit sex crimes. It means that they are more likely to commit petty crimes, like stealing, like robbery, like selling illegal things, because they need money and nobody will hire them. How much better would it be if men on the registry could come out and get jobs and have stable homes? Because it also shows in the research that when a person has a job and a stable home environment, crime goes down, because it gives the men and women a sense of self-worth. And that value is important. When a person has value and worth and love and sees responsibility and value within themselves, those numbers go way down in terms of committing more crimes. But when we can't get jobs and we can't get homes and anybody can find our name and harass us, all that does is cause more crime. And so it's setting up a situation that creates the very thing that the registry says it's trying to not create. How can you create a safe environment when the basis of the thing you've built causes instability in the lives of the men? There is no one taking a look at what it is and what it means to be homeless and how a homeless person survives on the street with no job, with no value, no self-worth. Oh, but by the way, we want you to be a model citizen. That generally does not happen because the restriction in the housing will lead to homelessness, and homelessness leads to instability. Employment restrictions and discrimination will lead to chronic unemployment. And when there's chronic unemployment, there's going to be theft because of poverty, because people can't survive. These things have to be taken into consideration when it comes to what the registry is supposed to be doing. And finally, number 5, the list is too big to mean anything. The list currently has 900,000 names on it. The National Registry has 900,000 names on it. That is totally useless. 900,000 names. When something happens, these lists, as I said before, gave police a head start. If there was a certain type of crime committed in a certain area, they knew, okay, we got a list. And in this particular area, there's 20 people in this area that we're going to take a look at. Out of that 20 people, half of them, 10 or 15 of them have committed major crimes. And so we know where to look. We have some idea where we're trying to be in terms of who we're looking for and what type of crime we're looking at. If you ask any law enforcement person about the registry, they will tell you themselves that this thing is off the chain. It's a resource drain in terms of tracking, registering, following up. It takes a lot of bandwidth to deal with registered people, especially when the list is totally ridiculous. And guess what? There is no getting off this list. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There are no ideas, thought patterns to make this better. They haven't sat down and said, what are we trying to do with this list? What is the end game? What are we trying to accomplish? Why are we keeping people on the list forever when we know that the more stable a person gets, the less his ability or desire to create crime? If I've been out of jail for 10 years and I'm stable and I have a job, the chances of me committing more crime goes down. In fact, it's indistinguishable from people who don't or have never committed a crime, because once a person is stable and have a reason to be stable, family, love, joy in their life, they do not commit crimes. And this is the part that this registry is missing. They're failing to understand that. Why? Because the general public fails to understand that. The general public wants you to be the same person you were when you came out of prison. This person isn't changing. Look at what he did all this time ago. He's the exact same person. Not true. But it's that kind of ignorance and that kind of thinking that causes the registry to continue to have these issues, because sex offenders are so easy for politicians. They're the go-to person. They're the go-to group. You don't even have to have a platform. Just say you're going to be tough on crime and they're after your children and da-da-da-da. Hey, you'll get elected. And more sex offender rules when you can't even administer the ones you have. And that is where we're going wrong. No reward for compliance. No release point. Built to catch the wrong people. Creates the exact conditions claims to want to prevent, and a list so large it can no longer function as a warning. 5 reasons why the sex offender registration is useless.